The events in tonight's episode are real, drawn from history, folklore, and whispered accounts. The Academy's connections to these events exists only in legend, as intended. Before you enter these halls, heed warning. Tonight's chilling tales are not for the faint of heart. All who enter here must be prepared to explore stories of darkness, mystery, the macabre, and all of the darkest parts of humanity. If tales of true crime, the paranormal, or other creatures that go bump in the night unsettle you, turn back now. This is not the place for you. For those of you brave souls who stayed, welcome to Dark Academy. I'm Kristen and I'll be your guide. Grab your candles and follow me to our haunted library of horror. Please come join me by the fireplace. Welcome back to the Midnight Library Circle, where we meet to discuss all things horror. We start with a horror movie that leads into the story, or stories, for the day. We close out with one small, weird tale we like to call Final Fright. Before we proceed, with any movie, there's always a chance for a spoiler. So if you have not seen this movie, or just aren't interested in this part, skip forward to the main story. This is just a short part of the episode and there's plenty more. Last time, we were down in the archives discovering secrets about past Academy people. Hi Tyler, it's good to see you. Glad you're okay and have returned. After that tumble, I wasn't sure if you'd make it back. We're not going to run on those slippery stairs again, are we? We like having you here and I don't need you hurt. Today, we're talking about the movie The Descent. I've seen The Descent recommended in almost every discussion about truly terrifying horror movies. Somehow I never even heard of it when it came out. But, after finally sitting down with it, I get why it's so highly regarded. The movie starts off feeling like one thing and then completely shifts into something else multiple times. So, we open with three friends, Sarah, Juno, and Beth, whitewater rafting. On shore, Sarah's husband, Paul, and their daughter cheer them on. Our first sign of division comes when Sarah shoves Juno out of the boat. Dick move, but okay. So Juno laughs it off. There is a subtle interaction when Paul helps Juno remove her helmet. Beth noticed. So did I. But Beth didn't say anything. I did, but they didn't hear me. So on the drive home, Sarah asks Paul if he's okay because he seems distant. He stares at her for an uncomfortably long amount of time as the driver of the car before muttering, "I'm fine." Boy, look at the road. He veers into the other lane, just as you think he would. Their car collides with an oncoming truck. It kills Paul and their daughter, Final Destination style. Poles going right through their bodies. I don't know how Sarah even survives this mentally, emotionally, whatever you want to call it. Her entire family is just gone. But a year later, she reconnects with her old friends at a cabin in Appalachia. We know stuff's about to go down. Along with Juno and Beth, we meet Rebecca and her energetic younger sister, and also a new girl named Holly. So, at this point, it still seems like it might be sort of a revenge movie, but I've seen a little bit of the preview, so I know it's not only that. But there is clearly some unresolved tension between Sarah and Juno, cautiously observed by Beth. So, the group sets off to explore a cave system, and we get an extended sequence providing how skilled they are at caving, which is, to me, quite boring. Everything about caving just seems like a nightmare to me. But I find out later why we need to know their experience level. Then comes the first scene where everything starts to change. All of them squeeze through this claustrophobic tunnel that immediately tells me they are way better than I ever will be. Like, I'm not going through there. And exactly what your nightmare might tell you is gonna happen, happens. Sarah gets stuck. She starts to have a panic attack. Girl, me too. But Beth helps her calm down and get out. Just as they're free, the entrance caves in, trapping the whole group inside. I mean, what? The other was a nightmare, but this is it. I'm done. So that tension we were talking about before, this is when everything starts to unravel. Juno confesses she didn't take them to the cave they had registered with. Girl, what? Instead, she brought them to an uncharted system, one that's never been mapped. I mean, if I'm an adrenaline junkie and I just want to do that, it sounds great. But you need to let other people know that's not okay. So nobody knows where they are. Rebecca, who seems to be very by the book and very responsible, she's furious, and rightfully so. But still, they press on, searching for some exit. I mean, in my mind, this thing just goes deeper and deeper and deeper, and there is no exit, but they know more than likely there actually is. They're doing surprisingly well, until Holly makes a rookie mistake. She sees what she thinks is sunlight and runs toward it, only to fall in a pit and snap her leg. That's exactly what we need, Holly. But I might have ran too. I don't know. I wouldn't even be down there, so no, I wouldn't. This is when this changes to a horror movie. That's when the creatures show up. The cave is horror enough, but these creatures. At first, it's just one. Pale, eyeless, razor-toothed, moving on all fours. As if that's not bad enough, more show up. Multiples. And now the group isn't just lost, they're being hunted. The chaos is immediate. I mean, as you could expect. These creatures are fast, brutal, and relentless. The women are separated into small groups. Some fight back. Some die instantly. Sarah is out by herself. Juno, forgive me, I'm trying to keep this clean, but Juno becomes a badass. But she's taking down these creatures left and right. She had me fighting on the couch like I was there with her. Honestly, she should have been the final girl. She deserved it. But she made one very big mistake. While actively fighting for her life, Juno accidentally stabs Beth. This girl sneaks up on her. Who sneaks up on somebody who's fighting for their life? That was stupid. I hate to victim blame, but I'm victim blaming because they're not real people. Anyway, it's an awful moment. She panics and she leaves Beth behind. Wounded, but not dead. And I'd like to think that I wouldn't, but I mean, what can you do? So Sarah later finds Beth. Beth tells her what happened, tells her that Juno did this and that Juno left her. And this is when we go back to a revenge story. So Sarah, who I already don't like, is all sanctimonious like, I would never leave a friend to die. You don't know that. Not one person has been in this situation before and lived to tell the tale, or we would have heard about it. So Sarah decides she's going to play prosecutor, jury, and judge, and execute her by way of cryptid, cannibalistic cave dwellers. Don't get me wrong, Juno was not perfect. She didn't deserve that. I did not like Sarah the moment she pushed Juno off that raft. It just felt like there was more behind it. If I have any complaints, it's that the cave exploration scenes felt a little too long, while the creature attacks were crammed into one section. I would have loved to see the hunt stretch out more, the tension building gradually. Like, did you think you saw? I think I saw something. There was white in the background. Oh my gosh, there was something up there. And I think there was like one spot, but it just wasn't enough. Also, are we really not going to address the Paul situation? No final confrontation, no throwdown. I was waiting for that moment. Still, these are minor complaints. I did like the movie. I wasn't scared, but it was a good horror movie. I see why it's highly recommended. One of the most terrifying aspects of The Descent isn't just the claustrophobia or the isolation, though that is the part that would really terrify me. It's the supernatural cave dwellers. These creatures aren't just a horror movie invention. They're rooted in Appalachian folklore. Stories of these strange humanoid beings lurking in caves have been passed down for generations. Or so they say. I love these stories, but it's really hard to find good resources on legends. Like, how many people know it? Is it common in all the mountains or just portions of the region? Does somebody's papaw make it up because he's tired of looking for your butt in the woods? I like my facts. But I have to just let go of that for these stories because this is it or isn't it is the best part. So the Appalachian Mountains, specifically the Blue Ridge Range, are said to be over 1 billion years old, making them one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world. I can't even comprehend that number. With that much history, it's no surprise that the region is filled with eerie legends. The area is home to thousands of underground caves, sinkholes, and abandoned mines. Dark, winding tunnels that have provided shelter for all kinds of creatures, both known and otherwise. While reports vary, the most consistent description of these beings are humanoid, but distorted, around 5 to 7 feet tall, but thin and emaciated. Elongated limbs, long arms, legs, and fingers, perfect for slipping through narrow cave passages. Pale, grayish, nearly translucent skin, likely an adaptation to life without sunlight. Hollow, oversized eyes, or no eyes at all. Most accounts claim they're completely blind. It's so dark down there. You don't need to be able to see because you can't see. Mouths without lips, exposing sharp teeth because, of course, that's disgusting. I mean, that's creepy. Silent, fast, predatory, the worst possible combination. Some witnesses claim they move on all fours, climbing cave walls like something out of a nightmare, like something from The Descent. Which one came first, do you think? The fact they don't even have a real name says a lot. They're referred to as Appalachian cave creatures. We need to work on their branding. And Tyler, I get why you freaked out now. I'm a little more aware of that door when I'm down in the archives now. So, no shame. As with most legends, there's no concrete proof of their existence. Of course, there are other well-documented cryptids or creatures that could explain some of these sightings. Of all the eerie legends whispered through the Appalachian Mountains, the Moon Eye people of Cherokee folklore are one of the strangest, but most believable to me. These mysterious beings were said to live in caves, only emerging under the cover of night. The Cherokee reported hearing them moving in the darkness, but never dared to investigate. And I mean, honestly, same. I'm not going out there. Stranger still, entire fields would be cleared overnight. I mean, they just took all your stuff. You could leave me some. Descriptions of them is the only thing that makes their reality questionable. According to legend, the Moon Eye people were short, white-skinned, flat-faced, and bearded. I don't know why the bearded part is funny to me. Extremely sensitive to sunlight, which is why they only came out at night. The Cherokee say they were already here when their ancestors arrived, but they were eventually driven out in battle. A battle fought when the moon was full, blinding the Moon Eye people and ensuring their defeat. But who were they really? Like any good legend, there are multiple theories about their origins. Some believe they were related to the Kuna, or Guna people of Panama, who have high prevalence of albinism. In Kuna culture, albino children are called children of the moon because they prefer to play outside at night to protect their sensitive eyes and skin. It is possible the Cherokee people never actually described them as white and that was something added later. Others believe the Moon Eye people were actually Welsh settlers who somehow made it to North America long before Columbus, like 300 years before. There's just a small problem with this. This is also a myth. So now we've got a legend within a legend. It's starting to feel more like conspiracy theory episode. I'm not mad about it, but it's not likely. Other versions of the tale describe the Moon Eye people as small, sneaky, and vengeful if betrayed, which sounds a lot more like European gnomes or elves than a lost human tribe. Then, of course, we have aliens. What if the Moon Eye people weren't people at all? Some believe they were an entirely different race of beings, extraterrestrial. I mean, why stop at Welsh gnomes when you can go ancient aliens? If the Moon Eye people were real, were they here before the Cherokee? The mountains hold structures older than Cherokee settlements, meaning someone was here first. Did the Moon Eye people build them, or was there some other forgotten civilization? It is possible they weren't fully driven out, but instead went into the caves and are still there. The cave creatures from The Descent were unsettling, but have you heard of the Appalachian Pharaoh people? Yes, you have, from me. I'll remind you in a minute. But before you start locking your doors, as far as we know, this is just a myth. There's no hard evidence, just a lot of eerie Reddit posts, TikToks, and YouTube videos about people seeing something that shouldn't be there. But for a myth, it sure is persistent. So of course you should still lock your doors. Have I taught you nothing? The idea of wild men lurking beyond civilization isn't unique to Appalachia. Stories of feral, off-the-grid people exist across cultures and throughout history. And let's be real, the thought of accidentally stumbling into a hidden mountain lair filled with cannibals is terrifying. Like, we already have to watch out for bears and snakes. Now we're supposed to worry about woodland cryptids with a taste for human flesh. Pass. When I first watched Wrong Turn, it never occurred to me these kinds of creatures might actually exist. I just thought, what a great plot for a horror movie. So here's a reminder. If you listened to the ritual episode, you might remember one of the theories about the disappearance of 6-year-old Dennis Martin was that he was taken by a wild man. Some claim these feral people know the terrain so well that they can move undetected, traveling long distances at impossible speeds. Of course, most dismiss this. How could someone live off-grid, hidden from society, for decades? But some still claim to see them. Back in Civil War times or after the Civil War, stories of wild men encounters spread like wildfires. One particular account describes a 6'5" tall man covered in 2 inches of long hair and a funnel-shaped head. I need to see that, I think. When he saw the men, the wild man pounded his chest and ran off as fast as a deer. The group of men tracked him to a cave with a large pile of animal bones, suggesting he had lived there for a long time. If I saw that, I'm running, gun or not. Newspapers and magazines share many accounts, each describing very similar sightings. Some of these wild men were hunted and actually killed. Many of them were captured, turning out to be soldiers who deserted the army or men who simply abandoned society for their own reasons, whether due to mental illness, trauma, or just a desire to be free from societal norms. Back then, society was rigid. There was an order to things. You make money and provide for a family. You can hunt and fish, but you must do so within the structural confines of the societal box. These wild men did not want to do that, so society demonized them. Some escaped capture and went right back into the woods. From these accounts, these were men simply choosing to live a life in the wild. Modern accounts twist these men into scarier beings, but isn't that how legends are formed? Something misunderstood becomes something to be feared. So who or what are they really? Some believe these wild men were actually Cherokee people who refused to be forced onto the Trail of Tears, choosing instead to disappear into the mountains. But given the eastern band of Cherokee still exists in North Carolina today, it's unlikely they were hiding in caves while their own nation thrived nearby. Another practical theory is moonshiners created the stories. If you're running an illegal operation deep in the mountains, the last thing you want is nosy outsiders or children stumbling across your still. What better way to keep people away than with stories of terrifying, flesh-eating people? Another possibility stems from stereotypes. Let's face it, the South has always had some unflattering stereotypes, especially in Appalachia. We've all heard the jokes about marrying your cousin, and that leads to some interesting-looking people. Dirty, shoeless, and in need of a good dentist. Hard to understand by outsiders and speak so slowly they seem dumb. When really, it's just a different culture and way of life. Stop judging. Most have been shamed into conforming to a more acceptable way of life. Those who refuse become legends to be feared. Some like it that way. Here's the thing. If these people are real and dangerous, they are very good at hiding their tracks. Because if there were actual cases of feral people attacking hikers, we'd hear about it in the news. Especially if cannibals were involved. The public would eat it up. And yet, the stories persist. Some say it's impossible. Others claim they've seen something lurking in the deep, untouched wilderness. The unknown part is if the stories that persist are real or fabricated for a like or view. Due to this, if you are one of these people who has actually seen something, most think you're lying or crazy. And I know it sounds unlikely, but there are vast stretches of untouched forests where no one goes. Most of us are not built to survive in that kind of terrain, so we stay in the safe-ish areas of the mountains, marked trails and tourist areas. If you live there, I doubt you go too far from your property or people you know. I doubt you travel far. And I would like to point out, as I have before, just because you haven't seen something doesn't mean it isn't there. And hey, we own our Florida man. You can own your wild man. It's fine. The descent really cemented the fear of getting trapped underground with whatever those things were. Cave diving is scary enough as is. We don't have a true story of 6 women getting lost in caves that we know of. But we do have Floyd Collins, a real-life explorer who got himself stuck in a cave system much like the girls in the movie. At the turn of the century, Kentucky went a little feral trying to make money from cave tourism since farming on rocky soil is, well, hard. Constantly trying to get the edge on the other with new cave discoveries. Historians called it the Kentucky Cave Wars. Floyd Collins was already a seasoned cave explorer, having mapped the Flint Ridge cave system and commercialized the Great Crystal Cave. Unfortunately, it was remote and tourists weren't excited about going. Mammoth Cave, however, was the hotspot, with many entrances already ticketed and toured. So Collins tried to find a new entrance. In 1925, he squeezed into a tight passage connecting Flint Ridge to Mammoth, only to get stuck and trapped by a fallen rock. Rescue efforts became a full-blown, nationwide media frenzy. One of the first to utilize the newest technology, broadcast radio. People were glued to their radios, listening to rescuers try to reach him. Unfortunately, there was no getting him out. After 14 days, he died of thirst and starvation. Just 3 days before rescuers could safely reach him. His body was recovered 2 months later, and his tombstone now reads, "Greatest cave explorer ever known." That's nice. Legend has it, he did find the connection between the cave systems. The area, for a while, was even called Mammoth Flint Ridge Cave System, until the National Park Service stepped in, forcibly bought up over 52,000 acres and created Mammoth Cave National Park, which is now recognized as the longest cave system in the world. Collins is said to haunt both the cave and his grave. Mammoth Cave already had an eerie reputation with whispers of Native Americans' spiritual connection because, always, though no official records exist of this. Still, plenty of people claim to have seen apparitions from there. Collins, of course, is one of them. But he's not alone. Meet Stephen Bishop. Possibly Old Lewis. They might be two different people, I'm not really sure. He's one of the earliest recorded cave guides. He was known for his adventurous spirit and deep knowledge of the cave. Well liked by visitors. When he died, he was buried in a local church graveyard. Some idiot hotel owner decided to dig it up and put his body on display at the cave entrance as an attraction. Guess what? Lewis was not okay with this arrangement, and his angry spirit made that known. So he haunted the place until they put him back. But reports of apparitions flooded in. None more relatable than the guy who panicked and emptied his revolver into the ghost. Me too, guy. So I hope we can learn something from this. Stop moving bodies. We've been over this, but hopefully this is a past problem. There was also this tuberculosis doctor, John Croghan, who had a medical theory that cave air could cure tuberculosis, since cave workers seemed so healthy. He set up a treatment center inside the caves in the 1800s. Patients actually got worse though and started dying. They were dying so quickly that they had to temporarily store them inside the cave on a spot now called Corpse Rock. Modern visitors claim to hear painful, ghostly coughing echoing through the tunnels. That's a weird haunting. There's another ghost named Melissa. She was in love with this tutor who was in love with somebody else. So, like any rational person, she lured him into the cave to die. So you can hear her searching for her lost love. I guess she regretted it. Never make decisions when emotional. Turns out this story was made up in a newspaper article. Completely fiction. But it's a fun ghost story, so it stuck. No one knows exactly how they got there, but mummified bodies have been discovered inside Mammoth Cave over the years. Early 1900s people asked themselves, whatever shall we do with them? Give them a proper burial? No. I know. We'll put them on display as tourist attractions. Obviously a trend at the time. But they weren't just in Mammoth Cave, they took them to travel the country. Gotta make that money, I guess. So, kind of random, but some people report Bigfoot sightings around the caves. Is there a connection? I don't know. But hey, if ghosts and mummies are in the story, why not? Bigfoot or aliens are always possibilities. Can't rule them out. Well, that's it for the dark and chilling tales of all the cave dwellers, Floyd Collins, and the Mammoth Cave. Now it's time for our final fright. We're going to talk about another abandoned location, but this one happened all at once, not over time like Dudleytown. Lake Anjikuni sits in northern Canada, way up in the Arctic, where the options range from cold to colder. And I know I've said this before, but Florida girl cannot compute. Like, I struggle to think about the northern states in the United States. Like, y'all are above that. And then they're like in the top of that. That's cold. Any village in that region would be isolated, even today. But in the 1930s, you might as well be on another planet. One such village sat along Anjikuni Lake, home to an Inuit community that was friendly with passing fur trappers. One was Joe LaBelle, who had visited before. In 1930, Joe arrived expecting the usual warm welcome, but found only eerie silence, a ghost town. The village was empty, completely abandoned. Not in a packed up and moved on way, but a vanished into thin air kind of way. Clothes remained unfinished, needles still stuck in them. Food was left behind, even over fire pits. The worst part is their sled dogs had starved to death, still tied up. I wonder why they didn't take those. The weirdest part, the part that really says, we ain't coming back. They dug up and took their dead with them. That's not a spur-of-the-moment decision, that takes time. And yet, there were no signs of struggle, no evidence of a storm, and, allegedly, not a single footprint leading away from the village. It sounds very similar to Dyatlov Pass to me. Evidence of haste, and other things in going slow. Differences exist, but each mystery comes down to footprints or lack thereof. For more on Dyatlov Pass, listen to Episode 3, Southern Bells and Chilling Tales. LaBelle called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which investigated and confirmed the empty graves. They say the fires were still burning, but I bet that was added for dramatic effect, because that does make it even more spooky. But why would an entire village just disappear? Posed explanations include starvation, storms, diseases. There was food left behind. No evidence of a disaster. I'm sure this wasn't the first time they saw a storm, and disease usually leaves bodies, not missing ones. Some people like to point out Inuit mythology, but none of those legends seem to match. Others suggest strange blue lights were seen around the area at the time, and sometimes I like to acknowledge those, but because, we gotta bring UFOs in the mix. But they said they don't know exactly when this happened, like when the village was deserted, not even the day or the week. How would we know there were lights in their area at the exact same time? But if aliens are real, the whole town abduction seems to fit, bodies and all. Let's talk about something a little more grounded. So what if they were being stalked by an animal, something big and dangerous? Maybe it already killed some of them and dug up bodies. Moving the bodies was a precaution. Eventually they had to flee quickly. I don't know. I'm just trying to help. So regardless, no solid explanation has ever been found. Some think the whole thing was made up. There were holes in Joe's story. Like it didn't seem he'd ever actually been up there before that one time. And some details seem elaborated. Some say there are no remains of any village at that lake. But supposedly the mountain police did record strange findings, but I can't find them. Either way, I can't help but draw a parallel to Dark Academy. A place once full of life, now deserted, yet something still lingers. Maybe Anjekuni Village is waiting to summon the right person to come discover their secrets. Hopefully there's a portal to Dark Academy so that person can come let us know. Thank you for joining me here at the Midnight Library at Dark Academy. I hope you enjoyed this dark and chilling tale, and we'll come back next time for another one. By the way, I'm going to start dropping a few Dark Academy lore episodes. They will be separate from the regular ones, so if you don't care about those, that's okay. You can go back to the regular ones, so see you there. Don't forget to leave a review for this episode in the comment section below. I'll try to post pictures and other content on TikTok and Instagram at Dark Academy Pod. If you'd like to review the whole show, you can do that on Apple Podcast. You can rate it on any of the apps, and please do. It really helps a small show like this one. You can also email me at darkacademypod@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll meet you here next time. Same time, same place, for it's always midnight at the Dark Academy Library. Bye.